Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of my channel. I am Kishalay. I hope you all are doing well. Now from the thumbnail you get to know that in this particular video I am going to share my experience during the selection procedure in Isro. Now to give a brief background, I cracked Isro in 2017 with the rank 38. So there are total 44 people who got selected and my rank was 38 in that list. And before that also in 2016 also I appeared for the written test and I cracked the written test, but I was not able to crack the interview. So I have gone for the interview, but I was not able to crack it. But in 2017 I was able to crack both. So in this particular video I am going to share my full experience, that why I was not able to crack in 2016 and what are the strategy that I have followed so that I was able to crack in 2017. So this whole story I am going to share in this particular video. So please do watch the video till end. And before starting the video, as I always say, that if you are new to this particular channel, please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get all the notifications regularly. Now without further ado, let's get started with today's video. Now before sharing my interview experience, let me tell you that why I got so much motivated to join Isro. Now when I had started my preparation for GATE exam in 2013. As you all know that I was reading a lot of self-help books, autobiographies and biographies by different great leaders across the world. And by doing so, one day I came across this book that is called Wings of Fires by Professor Abdul Kalam. I have read that book within a month, and I got so much motivated by his journey, like series of failures that he had faced throughout his life, and it took such a long time to him to achieve a success in Isro, because the first launch that he led, that is I think SLV3, that took around 11 to 15 years to accomplish. So that journey I came to know from that particular book, and I was so much excited, so much motivated to join Isro. So that was the prime motivation when I started thinking of joining Isro. At the same time, in 2013, if you remember, I think on November, Isro launched Mangalyaan, that is the Mars mission, and it reached to the Mars orbit on I think September 2014. So it was also that same time when I was preparing for GATE. So I started, researching about Isro and how to get into Isro, what are the selection procedure and all. And I came to know about this exam called Isro Centralized Recruitment Board exam, that is this icrb. And this is how it all started. And I started finding the syllabus and all, and I came to know that its syllabus is almost, the written test syllabus is almost similar to whatever there is in GATE, and you don't need to study much. There are few subjects that is not there, but like 80% syllabus is similar. So then I started thinking, why not try Isro? And this was how it all started, and this was how I started in 2014, that okay, now I'll try Isro also parallelly with the GATE exam, and I'll be appearing for the written test, and I'll be going for the interview if I can crack the written test. So this is how everything has started. Okay, now coming back to my actual experiences. So as I said that in 2014 I decided that I'll be going for Isro exam, and I started searching for its syllabus, how the exam happens, and a lot more things. So I appeared for the exam in the next slot, that was for 15-16 slots. So that was open. So I have applied for it. So I got the call letter for the written test, and the written test was around October or November. I can't remember the exact time. So October, November 2015, the written test was there, and I appeared for it. And what I found is, like, if you prepare well for the GATE exam, it's sufficient for you to crack the written test, because 80% syllabus is common between GATE and Isro. So that 80%, if you can solve well, that is enough to clear the cutoff. You don't need to worry about the remaining 20%. There are some web technology, software engineering, this kind of subjects is there for computer science, but you don't need to worry for those 20% syllabus. So if you can solve the 80% that is common with GATE, if you can solve that well, that is sufficient. Why I am saying is that in Isro written test, there will be 90 questions. There will be 80 questions you have to solve, and the time given to you is 1.5 hours, that is 90 minutes. So maximum you will get 1 minute or some seconds to solve a particular question. So it's not possible for you to attempt all 80 questions in 1.5 hours. So maximum you can solve 60 to 70 questions max. So I hope you understand that the 80% questions that is common between GATE and ISRO, if you can solve that one, that is sufficient, and you can't do more than that in an exam like ISRO where you are just given 1.5 hours, because you have to be very fast. So no need to, because many people used to ask me this question that how to prepare for the less 20%. No need to worry about that. Even if you don't solve that particular questions also, and if you can solve the 80% well, you will get a call for the interview. So in my case also that happened, that whatever questions comes from the GATE I was able to solve, and I cleared the cutoff, and I got a call for the interview. Now as I cracked the written test, so I got the call for the interview. So from ISRO you will be getting a postal mail regarding the call letter and a copy of biodata. So they will send you a form that you have to fill regarding your details. So it's kind of a CV, but it's a kind of a paperwork that you have to do, that you have to write everything, your educational details, wherever you have worked. So everything you have to write, but it's not a PDF. It's a copy that you have to fill up. So they call it a biodata, and you have to be there in the interview venue. So my interview was in Trivandrum. It was on 1st March 2016. So I have reached there one day before, and my reporting time was 8 a.m. in the morning. But I have been there, I think I went there around 7:30 or around so I was there. You can understand that I was a bit nervous that time, so I reached there early. So then it was in Trivandrum VSSC, but it was not actually in the VSSC campus, that is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center campus. It was not exactly in that center, but there is a guest house for VSSC nearby, and our interview was on that guest house. And there is an admin block. Actually, admin block also is in that guest house, and our interview was going on in that admin block. So I reached there, as I was saying that I reached there on at 7:30, and when I reached there, so everybody was sitting in a particular room. So there are around 40 people, 35 to 40 people who for the interview. So everybody was there in a particular room, and the first thing happened was that they called one by one and verify the documents, and document verification is very strict there. So they will verify all the numbers, all the grades that you have got, like from your 10th, 12th, BTech, and whatever it is. So they will recalculate. So whatever you have, say suppose you have given your CGPA 85% or 8.5, they will calculate and see whether you have your given data is correct or not. So that was there, and also your work experiences, everything, all the document they will verify, your Aadhaar card, voter card, everything they will verify. So it will take around 10 minutes to do this document verification part, and after that document verification is done, they will give you a serial number on your application form. So that serial number is actually your number for the interview. Like my serial number was 15, so I was the 15th person to be interviewed in that particular panel. So I can understand, like if there are total 35 to 40 people, so I'll be around the middle of the whole interview selection. Now my turn came exactly after the lunch. So there was a person who was sitting, he was 14 and I was after him. So the authority called me after the lunch that you have to be there. So I was in the lobby. So there is a room that is the interview room, but in front of the room there are some sofas, so you have to sit there. So when I reached there, the person who was 14, he was sitting, and I was just sitting next to him. So what happened is that a ring will bell from the room, and you have to go into the room. So that person who was sitting in front before me, who was the serial number 14, so he went for the room, and then comes the nervous situation that you have to wait for another 30 minutes sitting there when the person will be interviewed. So I was sitting there for 30 minutes and it was full tension, because I have never been for this kind of interview by any government sector or PSUs, and this was ISRO. This was a bit more special for me to go for the interview session. And eventually my turns comes out. So that person who was interviewed, he came out, and after 5 minutes the bell rang again, and I went to the interview room. Now as I entered the room, I realized that it's a very big meeting room, large meeting room that I used to have in my corporates also. So it's a big room. There is a big table, large table in the middle of the room, and there are 10 people who are sitting on the other side, who will be interviewing me. And I have been asked to sit on the other side in the middle. There is a chair. I have been asked to sit there, and it was a bit horrible for me, because there are 10 people, 10 scientists sitting on the other side who will be taking your interview. And in my life I have never faced 10 people in an interview panel. So maximum I have faced 3. I have given a few interviews in corporates, but maximum I have faced 2 to 3 people. But here there was 10 people who were sitting to take the interview. So yeah, that was a bit nervous situation initially as I entered the room. But as you know that when the interview starts, you eventually got involved in that particular interview, and that won't matter much. But when I just entered, I was a bit not so much comfortable seeing these 10 people who was sitting on the other side. But yeah, the interview starts, and they already had my biodata, so they don't ask me to show the documents, because as I already said, the document verification is already done. So they didn't ask for any documents, though I was carrying my documents, so I just kept it in the bag, and the interview starts. So the first thing happened was that in the middle, where you will be sitting, in the exact opposite, there will be a person who will be the coordinator for that particular interview, and they will just start with some very light questions like what's my name, from where I'm coming from, and also ask me that from which train I have come, where I'm staying in the Trivandrum. So there are some very light questions that person asked me to just starts the interview and make me comfortable with the situation. So that happened for around 1 to 2 minutes, and I have answered all of his questions. Then he asked me to introduce myself in front of the panel, so I did so. And while introducing myself, I have briefed about my projects that I have done in my BTech and the projects I was working in TCS. So he asked me a few questions regarding that, and then he referred me to the first interviewer. Now, the first interview was from the computer networks domain. So he started asking me questions from computer networks, like few questions he asked from the encoding scheme, encryption schemes. Then he asked me how to do 3-layer encryptions. Then he asked me digital signatures, and finally he asked me switch, hubs, repeaters. There are few devices are there. So he was asking me these questions. So I was not as comfortable with this particular subject, but I was trying to answer the questions initially, because I thought it's not good to say that I don't know initially. But I was not able to answer few of them. So I think I was able to answer first 2, but then I was not much comfortable about the questions that is been asked. So I told them that I am not much comfortable in this particular subject. So then they asked me, what is your favorite subject? So I told them that my favorite subject is data structure algorithms and theory of automata. So then the coordinator referred me to the other interviewers. So the next interviewer started asking me questions from data structure and algorithms. So he started asking me what is abstract data types, what is data structure, different questions related to sorting, searching, and graph abstract data types, and stack queue. So a lot of questions she was asking me, and I was able to answer them comfortably, because I was comfortable with this particular part. Then the next interviewer started asking me questions from automata theory or theory of computation part. So the first question he asked me was what is called a grammar in automata theory, and I was able to answer that particular questions. The next question he asked me that this context free grammar, why it is called context free. So I was not pretty sure about that, so I tried to answer that particular questions, but he was not convinced with my answer. And finally he asked me to write the context free grammar for if-else structure in programming. I hope if you're preparing for GATE, this is a very, very popular context free grammar in compiler. But that time I was not much sure about the exact form. So I tried to think and try to answer them, but it was not, I was not able to write the exact context free grammar on sitting there. So what happened is they asked me to go to board and write it down, and then the whole mess happened. So when they told me to go to the board, so there is a whiteboard exactly behind me in that particular room, and there are some black pens are there. So they told me to go and write it down. So I just went there and started writing, but I was too nervous, so I was not able to formulate that particular CFG. It was a very pretty simple CFG. I know, but somehow it was not happening. So and when I went to the board, I was too much nervous that I was not able to write anything. Now next, there are few interviewers who was asking me questions randomly from anywhere. So till this first 3 interviewers, so they took around 20 minutes for the interview, and for the rest 10 minutes, so it was quite random. So they started asking from anywhere. So one of the person was asking me from computer architecture and organization. So he asked me what is pipeline, give the definition. So I tried to give it, and what is throughput of throughput of a pipeline, and how it is related to number of stages and all. So there are many questions he was asking me, and this part I was comfortable because architecture I had prepared for, so I was able to answer. Then finally one guy, he started asking me from the geometry of class 12. So he was asking me equation of straight line, parabola, hyperparabola, and there are some proofs also he was asking. So I was not that much comfortable with the geometry. Actually I have not prepared for it, so I was not able to solve those questions. So this was the overall my interview experiences, and after 30 minutes they told me to leave the room. I came out from the room with a mixture of feelings. So few questions I was able to answer, I was not able to answer. And this was my interview experience that time. I came out and I went to the admin room. So I went to the account section because they were supposed to give us the TA, that is traveling allowance for the travel. Though I went Trivandrum via flight, and I was planning to come back via flight also, but they were only giving us the fare of a non AC second class train fare. So that they have given us, so that much only is refundable, rest you have to manage by yourself. So I have collected that, then I interacted with few other people, I had snacks there, and then I come out of that particular center. And on the next day I was actually visiting Trivandrum, because whenever you got the call letter from Isro, so they will tell you to stay on that venue for 2 days, because in some reason the interview couldn't finish on the particular date, then it will be rescheduled for the next day. So the next day I had no plan to come back, so I was there, I was traveling Trivandrum, I was visiting places, and then the next day I came back to Kolkata. And the result comes out. So I was saying that my interview was on 1st March, and result came out on 1st April, exactly after 1 month, and I was not selected, or my name was not there in the list. And that was my experience for the first time I was appearing for Isro exam. So again I have filled the form next time for the Isro recruitment, and it came out very soon after this rejection in April. So if I remember, it came out on around June 2016, and I filled the form, and the written test was around July end or August end 2016. So I appeared for the written test again, and this time also the pattern was pretty similar. Most of the questions they asked that is from the GATE syllabus, and again few times they even simply copy the questions from the GATE. So that is a trend is there. So I was not preparing for the other subjects, I just 80% syllabus that was common with GATE I was preparing, and I have appeared for the exam, and I was able to crack the exam again this time, and again I got the call for the interview. So this time the interview venue was on Chennai, and the date was on 6th December 2016, and I got the call letter again, I got the biodata again, and again I have to fill it up and all. So I have reached there on 6th December 2016. So that time my GATE preparation also going on. If you know that I was preparing for GATE 2017, but I took a break for some 15 to 20 days, and from the GATE preparation, and I studied all the subjects again, because for the interview you need to study the subjects. You don't need to solve the questions, because written test you have cleared. So I have to prepare for the subject. So I took for 15 to 20 days break from the GATE preparation, like in the November month, and I prepared for the interview, and I reached there on 5th December 2016, and my interview was on 6th December. So it was in, as I was saying, that it was in Chennai. So there is a Chennai guest house, Isro guest house in Pallavaram. So the interview was there. So I have reached there again in the morning 8 o'clock, and again the same procedure was going on, that they was verifying my documents. They've given me a serial number, and this time my interview was in first hour. I think around 11 o'clock or 11:30 my turn was there. So I was sitting there again, and I was a bit more nervous this time, because I have already faced the interview last time, and I know what is going to happen within few minutes. So I was sitting there quite tensed, and the person who was before me, he was already there in the room, and there was again, he came out, the ring, the bell rang, and I went to the room. I was pretty nervous, I would say. I mean, I was pretty nervous that time, and I entered the room. So it was even a larger room, I would say, than what I have seen in Trivandrum. I don't know what I will say. It's not a normal meeting room. Maybe it's a conference room, I can say. And there is a large table again in the middle of the room, and there was 8 people who were sitting on the other side of the panel. So this time there was 8 scientists who was waiting for me for the interview, and I sit on the opposite side in a table and in a chair. And again, there is this coordinator who was the same person I met last time. So he started me asking again the same thing, like what is your introductory questions, like my name, how I come, and few things. And he asked me to introduce myself, and I have introduced, and I have told about my projects and all. But this time the difference is that one of the interviews started asking me from my projects. So my project was related to image steganography, that is related to image processing. And if you know that there is this Ahmedabad center in Isro, they are pretty involved. They're working many things related to image processing. So there was a ma'am from that particular center. So she started asking me from different questions related to that projects, that how I manage this processing of image, different pixels, and also many things she was asking me. So I was not much not much comfortable with that particular project, because I have done that project 5 years before that. In 2012 I have done that project. So I just said that I can't remember everything, but I have tried to answer whatever is possible from my end. Then the coordinator asked me again that what is my favorite subject. So I again said the same thing, that data structure, algorithm, and theory of automata. So again he referred me to the same interviewer who asked me data structure question last time. So that same madam started asking me questions from data structure, and almost similar questions she had asked me. Apart from, she asked me few things from software development cycle, so that I have just answered. So this part I was pretty comfortable, because I was comfortable with the subjects also, and almost the same things and that madam asked me this time also. So I was pretty comfortable with that, so I was able to answer all the questions. There is another guy who also started asking me few questions related to data structure algorithm, that like he was asking me related to tree traversal, then different searches like breadth first search, different depth first search of graph, and he asked me related to sorting and searching algorithms in different strings. So yeah, that was there. The other guy, he was asking me from data structure, and I was pretty comfortable with this particular subject, so I was able to answer them. And then finally, so this was again, this happened around for 15 to 20 minutes, and then for last 10 minutes that was a random round. So few interviewers asked me from the from compilers and computer architecture, like what is pipeline, what is intermediate representations of compilers, and there are few other things they were asking me. And there are some other person, they again started asking me from the image processing part that is related to my project. So but unfortunately I was not able to answer them, because I had no idea about the project that I did in BTech, because I just know about its name and the overall methodology, but in detail I was not able to remember, because it's been 5 years by then. So I was not able to answer them. Yeah, so this is how the interview went, and it went for around 30 to 35 minutes, and then I had come out of the room. So again, my feelings was mixed. I don't know whether it's a good interview or bad, because the project part was very bad, and it went around 10 to 15 minutes, and I hardly answered any question from the project, because as I said that I was not much comfortable from that particular project, because I had done it 5 years back. So and 3 to 4 interviewers was asking me questions from that particular projects, and I was not able to answer them. So that was a pretty negative side of my interview. But the positive side was almost all the subjective questions like data structure, architecture, computer architecture, compiler, all I was able to answer. So that was a positive side of the interview. So I was not sure whether it was a good interview or bad, because last time also it was almost similar. that I was able to answer few, I was not able to answer few, but I was not able to crack the interview. So I was not happy. I was frustrated, and I was thinking maybe I'll got rejected again this time, and I have to again try another time. But yeah, I have come out of the room. I had my lunch, and I collected my money, that travel allowance money from the admin or from the account department, and I came back to Kolkata again, and I started preparing for GATE. And this time the result came out after 4 months, on March, and I was selected I was selected in the final list. And the reason, what I feel is that in ISRO, it's not only your performance that matters, how the other people are performing, that also matters. If you are able to perform better than the other people, then you are through. And also number of seats on that particular time was much more. Like in 2015-16, the number of vacancies was around 20, but in 16-17 the vacancy was double, almost 40 to 44 was the vacancy. I think these are the two things, that helped me to crack the interview, because I won't say that my interview was 100% good in both the cases, but in the first time, maybe other persons was doing well, and as the number of vacancies were less, so that's why I was not able to crack the interview. But this time, luckily the number of vacancies was more, and maybe I have performed better than the others, so that's why I was able to crack. Yeah, so that was my experience for the selection in ISRO. So I appeared both the times, and I have shared how my interview went for both the times. Written test is not an issue, because written test, if you prepare for the GATE exam, you'll be able to crack it, because many times the question comes directly from the GATE question, so they sometimes copy the questions from the GATE. So if you just go through the previous year questions of GATE, you will get the idea that it's not that difficult. So if you just prepare for those subjects that is there in both ISRO and GATE, you will be able to crack the written test. That's not an issue. But the major issue is in the interview. So you have to prepare couple of subjects very well as your favorite subjects, and also read all the subjects, and so that you can at least answer if somebody asks you something from those other subjects. Mostly they will ask you from your favorite subjects, but at the end, I am saying that for 10 to 15 minutes they will ask you randomly from anywhere. So that time they may ask you a question from a subject that is not your favorite subject. So you have to prepare for the other subjects also. But as I was saying that take 15 to 20 days and study the subjects for the interview, not solving any questions or something. Study the basics, study the subjects, theory part, and prepare for the interview. And prepare for the projects also, like whatever you have done in your BTech. So if you have done something really interesting, if you feel that is related to something science, or maybe you have done something related to networking or image processing that is related to the projects in ISRO, they may ask you questions from there. So be prepared for the projects and also the subjects, what is there in the GATE syllabus. So this was the overall strategy, I would say, to crack the ISRO interview. And obviously there is a bit of luck you need to crack the interview. I won't say that your performance is everything, because how you are performing, it's not the end. What the others are performing and what are the number of vacancies are there. So everything plays a role to get the selection. But what I can say you that if you keep on trying, you will be trying to crack it once. It's not that difficult. Written test you'll be able to crack, it's not that difficult, but the main challenge is the interview. But again, in interview also, if you if you can't crack it in the first attempt, in the second attempt or third attempt, you will be able to crack it. So the main thing I'm trying to say is that don't get disappointed if you can't crack the interview in the first try. So try again and you will be able to crack, because a bit of luck is needed to crack not only ISRO interview, any kind of competitive interview in the country. Yeah, so that's it guys, that's it about today's video. I hope you like the video, and if you like the video, please hit the like button and share this video with the other people so that they also get to know about it. And if you're new to this particular channel, please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get all the notifications regularly. So that's it guys, that's it about today's video. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, bye.